All right, I'm out here today with this 320 cat excavator. The complaint is that it's smoking really bad when it's running, and it has a lot of oil consumption. Actually, you might be able to see that there's a case of oil back there on the track. So I'm gonna do a little time lapse here. Actually, what's wrong with it is that the turbo's gone. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead and do a service on it because this machine hadn't had a service in a little over 250 hours or so, so it's due for one anyways. So here we go. All right, guys, I'll give you a little background on this machine. My good friend that does my machine work reached out to me and asked me would I be interested in pulling the motor out of this actual machine here. He said because one of the guys that he goes to church with that owns this machine was told that it needed a new engine in it. Okay, well, I told my buddy, and me and him both agreed on, it'd be a good idea for us to both go out and check and verify if it actually needs an engine. Because sometimes some folks are just terrible at troubleshooting, or they're looking to get as much money as possible. So anyways, I went out and it was very evident. As soon as I opened the hood, you could see that it was just oil dripping from the turbine housing on the turbo here. And you could see it's oil on the hood. It's oil all on the valve cover there. I pulled a dipstick tube before I even fired it up, pulled a dipstick tube, and it was the stick was bone dry. So, and there happened to be a case of Rotella sitting on the track. So anyways, we fired it up just for a second. Obviously it smoked just like it did in the video there. I pulled the intake tube off, and the shaft had a ton of play, and you're actually going to see that here. Now, folks, I've got to give you guys something that's a pet peeve of mine, and it's been a pet peeve of mine, as long as I've been turning wrenches. And I've worked at a Honda dealership, I've worked at a Midas, worked at a cat dealer, I've worked at a privately owned heavy truck shop, as well as working for myself. And I've always run across at least one person that's like this. These will be people who are, for lack of a better word, let's name them professionals. Okay. They name themselves professionals, and simple jobs. And I'm not talking about like trying to get gravy work off of a oil change and a service, trying to upsell some extra stuff, stuff that really is needed, not talking about that. I'm talking about guys who have, let's say fairly obvious issues, or with a little bit of troubleshooting. And I'm not talking about time that's like extremely wasted. I'm talking about maybe 2 hours of troubleshooting. 2 hours of troubleshooting, you can come to a very clear indication as to what a failure is, what a problem is. We've got technicians, or professionals, excuse me, that instead of taking that time, they just go in for the low hanging fruit. All right, they go grab that, and they just go for the easiest answer that kind of solves all the problems, like this machine right here. $45,000 quote for new engine. Okay. Now let's put a couple things in perspective. The gentleman who runs this machine, before this failure right here, he hadn't had any issues with the machine at all. Machine's been running A1, like a sewing machine, right? This failure happened, and even after the failure, the machine fires right up. It busts right off. Hasn't lost power, anything. Obviously it started smoking like that, and they figured it was an issue, and that's why they called a technician. But in the meantime, they continued to run it a little bit, because they had a couple trucks to load. They kept it topped off with oil or whatever, or tried to the best they could. But that's beside the point. So, like I said, technician comes out, says, "Hey, you need a new engine, $45,000. Okay. Then you have me comes out, takes a look at it, say, "Oh, wait, no. You just need a turbo." Guys, we got to stop doing that. I mean, it works out great for somebody like myself, privately owned, small managed team, works out perfectly, because I can come in, get really, do a great job, get work knocked out, build a great customer base, and people, appreciate that. And I save them money as well. Because I was actually looking at this particular shop's labor rate, their field truck rate, and it's $225 an hour. you know, you coming out $225 an hour and you tell a man, hey, his machine's, otherwise junk, for something that was something simple like that. Yeah, you damn right. The customer's not going to want to pay $225 to anybody else to come out there and look at his machine, especially if they're feeding them a bunch of bullshit. Anyways, that's my spiel. All right, I got her back together. You can see the beautiful scenery I got out here. Actually, if you're local to the area, that's actually Highway 85 right there, or I-85. Well, let's see, I'm about to get rained on, but I do have to run out to the parts store real quick and get some bolts for the stud here, for that there, on the end of the manifold there. Now I got to get some nuts for the U-clamps there, but guess what? She's running a lot cleaner now. Didn't have a welder on the truck to get that stud out there. It would have been a lot easier just to weld a nut to it and pull that stud out. I tried to get it out with a drill and extractor, but it just didn't work out for me. But anyways, I'm gonna try to run to the parts store before I get too wet now.